Fred Krueger. Nice to meet you. Hi, Fred Krueger here.
Sound like a businessman.
Night of the Horrorphile.
You're all invited.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
There's like me down there, but I'm watching myself. Does that make sense? There's like two of me. I don't know. Or I was just in a dream, so I'm watching myself in this dream. Whatever. Anyway. And my best friend was about to go through a meat grinder.
Ew.
And I was the one grinding her up into meat.
Oh my God. Dude, that's fucked up.
It was very strange. And I woke up crying.
Oh, I don't mean to laugh. That's mean. No.
Well, I told her about it, though. She was scared.
Well, speak about fucked up dreams. Welcome to Night of the Horrorphile. What did we watch this week?
1984's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh, directed by Wes Craven. I'm a fan of Wes Craven's.
Who isn't?
Right? Well, some people aren't.
Really?
Wes was a strange guy. He was sweet as hell and stuff like that, but he was a reluctant master of horror.
He was sweet as hell.
That's
not how I thought you would describe.
He was. You have got to.
Sweet as hell.
What? He was a nice guy. Like, you laugh, but I'm going to give you some homework. You need to go look up some videos, interviews with Wes Craven. He's the nicest guy in the world. Okay. Same with Mick Garris. I talk up Mick Garris all the time just because he's another nice guy. All these guys are kind of nice. But Wes was a strange cat because he what are you laughing about now?
He's such a sweet guy.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Wes Craven was awesome.
He was so sweet and
he
cuddly.
Was.
He loved bunnies.
He probably did. I'm telling you, next episode, I want you to go.
Do I have a test coming?
Yes, you have homework.
Damn it.
You need to go look up interviews with Wes Craven.
Okay.
And then report back to me, and you tell me if he isn't sweet.
Sir, yes, sir.
Anyway, let's get a little serious here. He's not with us anymore, so we have to...
R.I.P. The sweetest guy ever.
Ew. God, you're turning this touching memorial I was going to have
touching.
Here. You are just on a roll tonight, aren't you? Anyway, we're going to be here forever if you keep going. That's my job.
I've been holding this all in.
That's my job. Okay. So Wes Craven was a reluctant guy with being labeled a horror master, which he is. He's fantastic at it. When he would do movies that were like not horror, they didn't quite connect. At least not with me.
Oh, he did movies that were not horror?
Yes, he did a movie about violins or something one time. I saw it once and I was like, whoa, this is weird. But when you think Wes Craven, you think two movies, or most people who aren't,
me
deep into horror like I am. You think Scream, and you think our movie tonight, A Nightmare on Elm Street, which the latter being the one you think of the most, because when this thing hit in 1984, nobody was ready for it.
Oh yeah,
there had been weird dream kind of hazy movies, you had the witchcraft movies of the 70s that are like fever dreams and stuff like this, but nothing like this, really. This was a whole new ball game. So how about a little background? You ready?
Okay.
A little history lesson?
Buckle up.
You're like, I'm going to go fall asleep while Lee fucking rambles on. Okay.
Just let me know when I need to chime in.
Okay. So Wes began writing the screenplay for The Nightmare on Elm Street around 1981. He shopped it around to several studios who showed interest but ultimately passed. Actually, one of these studios being Disney.
Oh, man.
They wanted Craven, obviously, to tone down the story in order it to be suitable for preteens and kids. Wes wisely declined. Thankfully.
That's not what this is about.
No. Thankfully, Wes declined that, though. Finally, New Line Cinema, who had started out as just a distributor and then later a film studio, showed interest in the story. New Line, founded by Robert Shea, was going through a financial slump. They were going down the shitter, really. Their distribution deal fell through for Nightmare on Elm Street, and for like 2 weeks during production, they were unable to pay the crew and cast. According to Shea, all the investors backed out during pre-production, and half the funding came from a Yugoslavian guy who just wanted his girlfriend in films.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Originally, they had budgeted for $700,000, but Nightmare ended up costing an estimated $1.1 million, which still a small budget at the time, you know. However, it grossed over $25 million at the U.S. box office, just the U.S., and the film obviously was an instant fucking success, and it saved New Line Cinema from financial ruin. This earned the studio the nickname, The House That Freddy Built.
Oh.
So, before The Lord of the Rings, before all these big fucking hits from New Line Cinema, before they got bought by Warner Brothers because they were so successful, they had Freddy. Freddy saved them. So, before I take everyone's fucking time, let's dive into one of Wes Craven's best films, and the first appearance of a horror icon juggernaut that would go on to become a household name, Freddy Krueger.
This movie starts out with... Is that the music?
Yeah, I'm going to provide the background music.
Okay.
I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, you need to do it all throughout the movie, the whole thing. Anyway, so it starts off with, well, if you've seen the movie, you know it's Freddy Krueger.
Right.
And he is walking around this, like, warehouse or garage or something like that, and he's building something. He gathers knives and a glove, and he starts to shape the knives, and he makes this glove with knives.
Now, these hands here aren't actually Robert Englund's. Hang on one second, let me find this.
Why do they always use other people's hands?
Well, I believe it was a special effects guy that was doing this, and basically, he was the only one who knew how to. Because if you watch, he's actually putting this glove together, sort of.
Yeah.
With the tools and stuff like that. He was the only one who knew how to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why they used him.
But no,
on
I
this.
mean, like,
in other movies?
in all the movies.
Well, they use other people's hands and stuff, mostly because the actor wasn't there, or it was after filming. You know, because you have crews and stuff that you have to pay, and you have time limits, because everybody's in a union, by the way. So they have time limits. You have to get to lunch. You have to end it here. You have to end it there. There's strict time limits when you're making a movie.
Oh, okay.
That's what makes it so hard. What the fuck?
So, after he builds this glove, you see this girl, and she's running in a tunnel, sewer, I don't know, boiler room.
It's a boiler room.
Okay. At first, it looks like a sewer. I was like, what the hell is that? Anyway, and this is Tina, we find out. But, well, because we hear Freddy Krueger say her name, and she's hearing weird noises, and she's running, and then all of a sudden, Freddy slices through a curtain.
Right. And all this boiler room footage that you're seeing here, it was shot in the basement of the Lincoln Heights jail in Los Angeles. It was actually a condemned It was actually condemned shortly after production wrapped, because it had high level of asbestos.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they were filming in a riddled,
That's terrible.
a jail riddled with asbestos.
Oh, that's terrible.
And so let's talk about Freddy for a minute. Sorry.
Okay.
We have to. If you know Nightmare on Elm Street, you know who Freddy is, so I'm not ruining things by explaining this. But so this is the first we see of Freddy in a series of 7 movies. And when we're introduced to him in this one, he's more scary than he is in the other one. A lot of people will say, oh, well, that's because they made him humorous in the sequels and stuff. Well, honestly, I feel like Freddy Krueger was always humorous. I mean, the humor's here in this one. It's just not a punchline.
Right.
If you notice, like, they don't end the scene with the joke. Because, I mean, by the end of the movies, by the end of the 6th one, Freddy's dead, he's basically Bugs Bunny.
Oh, really?
And so Wes Craven, he kind of came up with the basic idea of this whole entire movie from a series of articles from the Los Angeles Times. It was over a 3-year period. It was about a group of Southeast Asian refugees from the Hmong tribe, several of whom died in the throes of horrific nightmares. The group had come to the U.S. to escape the murderous reign of Pol Pot at the time. And this was within a year of arriving here. 3 men had all died in similar situations. The young, otherwise like healthy guys would have a nightmare, then refuse to sleep for as long as they could. And when he finally fell asleep from exhaustion, he woke up screaming and then died.
Oh, that's creepy.
And they had an inability to find a cause of death. And this it intrigued Craven so fucking much. And medical authorities have since called this kind of phenomenon Asian death syndrome, which it's a variant of sudden unexpected death syndrome. SUDS.
SIDS?
SUDS for
that's
adults.
infants. Yeah. Okay.
And Brugada syndrome, I believe, is what it's called too.
Oh.
And Freddy is based off of, it came from 2 things from Wes Craven's childhood. Fred Krueger was the name of a schoolmate of his who was a big bully to him. It bullied him for several years. Even in Last House Left, one of his characters is named Krug, as in Krueger. The look of Freddy is based off of a hobo who ended up walking by Craven's window one time when he was like 10. And this old disheveled hobo looking dude kind of turned and looked at him. And it just really stuck with him, you know?
Oh.
Originally, Wes Craven didn't choose Robert Englund, who has since made Freddy Krueger like fucking impossible to play by anybody else because he's so iconic. But Wes, didn't choose Robert Englund to begin with. He went through several stuntmen thinking of that. There's also a myth, and it's a popular one, surrounding the film, which I'm going to get a lot of tweets from this, but there's a myth that says that David Warner was originally slated to play Freddy, and makeup tests were done, and that Warner had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. But this got proven false in the book Never Sleep Again, because Warner himself even said, no one contacted me about this, and I wouldn't have played Freddy to begin with because it wasn't a role he was really looking for. One name that was getting kicked around, though, by Wes especially, was Richard Mall. At the time, he was in Night Court and a few other things. They offered him the part, but he turned it down, probably because Richard Mall was more into comedy at the time. But yeah, so David Warner did not try to play Freddy at any time. And so it's just a myth, which it still persists. People will still insist that David Warner played Freddy at one point, but he didn't. So Robert Englund landed the part, and Robert did a fucking fantastic job, which Robert Englund he's a classically trained actor, which you wouldn't think so, but I think that's what brought some gravitas to Freddy. So yeah, and this is the first movie where you don't have stripes on Freddy's sleeves, if you noticed.
where do we leave off? Oh, Freddy Krueger slices the curtain and Tina starts to scream. Freddy Krueger jumps up behind her and grabs her. And when he does this, she wakes up. And her mom comes running in and she's like, "Are you okay?" And Tina looks down at her gown and it's torn. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Yeah, I just had a bad dream." And her mom's boyfriend comes up and he's being all creepy.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come back to bed."
Hey, I was doing your mom. You want to keep it down while I'm doing your mom? Please. That's what he looks like.
Yes, that is what he looks like.
So, Tina here, by the way, she was, the actress said she was passing out candy at Halloween after the movie had came out and it was popular and there was these kids dressed as Freddy and they didn't believe her when she told them that she played Tina.
Oh, that's funny.
But, okay, so we're introduced to Tina. Now, when you first saw this, I know this is like your second time to watch it.
Yeah.
Did you think that Tina was the main character?
I knew Tina was going to be the first to die because she was the first one to have nightmares, and I could just foresee it coming. I don't know.
Right. I see what you mean. So you didn't think she was like the main character?
No, I really thought Freddy was going to be like the main character, and then everybody was just going to die.
Oh, okay. So you thought that I get what you mean.
Yeah.
You went into it with the slasher genre in your brain.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So this is Amanda Wyss playing Tina.
Okay. I don't know who that is, but okay. So
it won't be on the test.
Okay. This is just a Wes Craven test, okay? So Tina's mom tells her, "Cut your nails or stop that type of dreaming." Like
you could just turn off your dream.
Like I could just stop having nightmares? Sure. That would be wonderful. Tina's freaked out and she grabs her cross and tries to go back to sleep. It cuts to these kids playing jump rope. Mm-hmm. And the screen's kind of foggy. And these little girls are playing jump rope and they're singing, "1, 2, Freddy's coming for you." You know the song.
Uh-huh.
And this red convertible pulls up. And it's got Tina, Nancy, and Glenn. They're talking about Tina's bad dream.
Yeah. And
Nancy says she also had a bad dream, but she didn't say what it was about. And then we meet Rod, and he says, "You know what I woke up with? Or what I woke up from? A boner." With Tina's name on it. Yeah. Nancy says, "Everyone has a bad dream once in a while." And Glenn says, "Just tell yourself you're having a bad dream and you'll wake up." And Tina's like, she just can't wrap her mind around this. And she's like, maybe there's going to be a big earthquake. Weird things happen before big earthquakes.
Shit.
Like, what the hell?
So if you noticed, we're getting our first appearance of Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he had been in something before this, but this is technically filmed before that movie, and I don't really have a sheet of Johnny Depp's work history right now because that's a 1.5 miles long and all of it's Tim Burton after 2000. But but no, we get young Johnny Depp here, who is playing Glenn. Now Charlie Sheen, John Cusack, Brad Pitt, Kiefer Sutherland, Nicolas Cage, and C. Thomas Howell from The Outsiders were considered for the role of Glenn.
Wow.
Charlie Sheen wanted an ass ton of money, obviously, because this is the 80s.
So he was like right in the middle of his blow addiction?
Yes, I was about to say that.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Two minds think alike.
So it's the nighttime now. Glenn and Nancy are at Tina's. And they're staying for support because Tina's really scared of this nightmare. Well, Glenn calls his mom because he's telling her that he's staying at his cousin's house.
Yeah.
His cousin's house. And his cousin lives by the airport. So he's got this tape recording of airplane noises. airport noises. And he's talking to his mom. There's a lot more than airport noises. There's like bombs going
It's
off, guns.
It's like, do you remember when you were little? And they may have these now, but no, they wouldn't have these now. What am I talking about? This is a relic. They had special effects tapes.
Oh, yeah.
I had a shit ton of them. They had like gun noises and all sorts of stuff. And then you had the Halloween sound effects tapes. I had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre themed one. It was nothing but loops of stuff you would hear from that movie. It was great. But yeah, it's a special effects tape he's playing. And it's,
okay.
And he doesn't get to stop it at the airport noise.
He's like trying to get it to stop. It's not stopping.
Oh yeah, Mom, I think there's some people drag racing outside. Oh, and there's just like a crash and people are screaming. He's like, oh, I think someone got in an accident. And I love this part because it does kind of remind me, even though everybody's in their like early 20s and they're supposed to be playing teenagers, it does kind of remind me of being a teenager and sneaking off to someone's house you weren't supposed to be at.
Oh, hell yeah. And you told your friend that you said you were staying with to cover if your parents called?
Right.
Just tell them I'm sleeping. I don't know. Tina's saying that she can't stop seeing his face. They don't give him a name until later on, but obviously we know it's Freddy Krueger.
Right. And, in this movie, I mean, they call him Freddy. I was doing a little bit, and this is a fact I didn't know before this, even though I should have. It's kind of weird. But I was doing, my normal research for the movie, making sure what I was going to spew off is right. And I realized he's credited as Fred Krueger.
Well, I don't remember Nancy calling him Freddy. I think she only calls him Fred.
Yeah, it's at the very end. We'll talk about it. But she says Freddy like once. But yeah, everybody calls him Fred. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, wait, this is such a proper. Like,
oh, yeah.
And then I started laughing. And you were asking me why I was laughing like a crazy person. But it's because I just kept thinking of like Freddy Krueger at a job interview. Like, hi. Oh, Fred Krueger, how are you? Fred Krueger from accounting. Yeah. How are you?
Oh my gosh.
I got those TPS reports.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh fuck. I'm sorry. Just think about it. Just Freddy Krueger in like a more like cleaned up sweater,
Oh my gosh.
No, Freddy, you're not allowed to wear your sweaters outside of casual Fridays.
Oh my god.
Fucking job's a prison.
Oh my god.
Go on before I keep going.
So Tina's saying she can't stop seeing Freddy's face and hearing the fingernails. And this triggers Nancy to remember her dream. Mm-hmm. And she says she remembers having a dream about a guy in a dirty red and green sweater. And he scraped his fingernails. And she was like, well, really, they're more like finger knives. And they were like, oh my gosh, we had the same dream.
Which, holy shit.
Ooh, that's super creepy.
And they kind of, they make a big deal of it later, sort of. But like, they kind of brush it off in these few early scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that would be my immediate interest. Wait, what? We're all having the same fucking dream?
Right. So they hear this weird noise outside. And they get up to go investigate because, that's what kids do. They just go outside to investigate weird noises.
Well, yeah.
I hate that.
Well, yeah.
But Glenn says he's going to punch their lights out. Whoever it is, he's going to punch their lights out. Such an 80s thing to say.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody say that anymore?
Probably not.
I've never said I'm going to punch his lights out. I can honestly say that.
So, Rod tackles Glenn Glenn gets pissed the fuck off. And from this whole little thing, you realize that Glenn doesn't really like Rod. And I don't know if it's because Rod's like...
Well... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, Rod's like the bad boy.
Uh-huh.
He ain't got no parents. And he's just the bad boy. And Glenn's the jock, like, goody two-shoe guy.
I think it's because Rod is an asshole.
Yeah.
And, I've met bigger assholes, but Rod's the asshole. And he's getting laid probably left and right with Tina. And, you know, we've all known that guy who's the really nice guy, but he ain't good shit. Like, because Nancy, like, is like, no. It makes him sleep, like, in a separate area. Because she sleeps in Tina's bed in this upcoming scene.
Right.
So I think maybe there's some animosity there, but...
Maybe. But Rod jokes, and he's like, is there an orgy going on? And Glenn calls him a dickhead, and Tina's like, man, I don't know. She was very weird towards him. Oh, sorry. But Glenn calls him a dickhead, and Rod pulls a knife on him. And Nancy splits it up, and she's like, no, it's just a sleepover. Glenn was about to leave. And Rod's like, oh, so your mom's not home, to Tina. And she's like, no. And he's like, okay. And he says, well, we get her mom's bed, and you guys have the rest. And Glenn, like, tries to make a move or whatever, and she's like, no, we're here for Tina.
It's like, God damn
because
it.
Tina and Rod are about to go fuck.
Yeah, obviously. And
so they don't need to be
like,
there for Tina.
And he's like, God damn it, I'm an early 80s Johnny Depp. What the fuck?
Getting late.
What the fuck? So Rod's played by Zu Garcia, which I'm probably butchering that name. JSUGARCIA. Oh, shit. Sorry. He's credited in the movie as Nick Corey, probably because people like me would butcher his name. But, okay, so before he took on the role as Rod, Ralph Macchio was considered for the role.
Oh,
was just the Karate Kid.
Oh, no.
I just imagine Ralph Macchio in this role, and I can't do it. But thankfully, they chose Zu Garcia.
Yeah, I think he did great. So they all go inside, and it's later on, and Tina and Rod are fucking.
Oh, yeah. And this scene here where Rod and Tina are fucking. And Nancy is asleep in Tina's bed, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And Glenn is on the couch. Poor Glenn.
Of course.
This was actually based off of a real incident that happened to Wes Craven when he was younger. So Wes was in the situation we all were in. Well, all us guys were in. That I've had this happen to me.
Where the two people are having sex and you're not?
Yeah. It's really awkward.
I hate to say it, but I was the one having the sex.
Oh, I know. I assume you were.
Sorry.
It's okay, because now you're having sex with me, so all worked out.
So Glenn says, morality sucks. And Tina and Rod are done fucking. And I guess they were in a fight or something, because they agreed to no more fights. And then they start talking about nightmares or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Rod's like, yeah, I can have nightmares too, or whatever. And so they agree to no more fights and no more nightmares. Little do they know.
Oh, man, I know, right?
So then it cuts to a scene of Nancy in Tina's bed, and the cross that's on the wall falls on Nancy's head. She's kind of like, what the hell? And she's trying to go back to sleep. So then it cuts to Tina, and she hears something, and she goes to check out the window, but she doesn't see anything or anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still at the window, and something's hitting the window, rocks or something, and she hears someone whisper her name. And then it cuts to Nancy sleeping again, and Freddy comes like out of the wall.
Yeah.
Like pushes through, almost like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Like if you put your
really
hand through a
cool.
balloon.
It's hard to, it's like he's pressing out of this solid wall.
Yeah.
And this is the first, like, besides, earlier in the movie where we get goats, which I don't know what it is about Freddy and goats. There's always a goat randomly sometimes. I think it's because it represents like the devil or something. But anyway, so in this scene, he's pressing through the wall, and it's like the wall isn't breaking or anything. It's stretching instead of what it would normally do. Now, the way they achieved this scene was they had a piece of spandex stretched over
spandex. Okay.
Yeah, stretched over a frame, and they shot it with the lighting and everything to where it looked like it was the wall and he was just bending through. And this scene, God, it's still effective today, just him pressing through the fucking wall, and it's just creepy, and
it's very creepy.
Yeah, it's eerie, and then he like folds back into the wall, and that effect is just amazing. And that's just practical effects. There's nothing computer generated about it, which isn't what I can say about the remake, because that whole movie was CGI'd. They CGI'd the scene. It's fucking awful. Anyway, moving on before I get all angry about CGI.
So Nancy puts it's not a cross, it's a crucifix. Sorry. The crucifix back on the wall. Whatever, same thing. And Tina decides she's going to go investigate the noise that she hears. Tina goes outside and she hears someone whispering her name.
Ooh,
I wonder who that is.
Tina.
And she runs to this, what is that, an alleyway by her house?
Yeah. I'm assuming it's like behind her house. You know how you can like go outside your fence and there's alleyways and stuff, maybe?
Sure.
I've never had that because we live in Oklahoma, but it's a thing, I guess.
Sure. So she's walking this alleyway and she sees Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking towards her and his arms start to grow out.
Ugh. Yeah, and they achieved this scene by like, I think there's poles and stuff and fake arms, and they had like special effects guys on each side kind of pulling out the arms and stuff. So it's just a simple effect again. And you see his claw begin to scrape on the wall here.
Yeah.
And they did that by running electrical wire through a claw and scraping it along like metal.
Ugh.
So to create those sparks, which again, when you think back, you're like, oh shit. Practical effects were kind of dangerous. But no. And like I said, man, the menace Robert Englund brings to Freddy is something that no other slasher had really done. Like, most of the slashers that came before this movie were mostly the silent killers. Like, you had Michael Myers, you had Jason, you had Black Christmas and stuff. Most of these guys didn't talk. So then you have Freddy, who's almost, and it's so fucking creepy, especially in this one, because he's like having fun.
Oh, yeah.
He's sitting there like kind of giggling as he's scraping along these walls, and he knows he's scaring the shit out of this chick. And
that's what he's there for.
Yeah. And yeah, so just the menace Robert Englund brings to Freddy. Englund said, he based the physicality of Freddy on Klaus Kinski's performance in Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, the Vampire, the 1979 movie, which is a great movie. If you've never seen it, we need to cover that. But, speaking of which, like that glove, what do you think about the glove?
It's creepy. I wish he had two of them.
Oh, that'd be kind of hard. I mean, I assume Freddy's still got to pee though,
You could take your gloves off.
Well, I mean, how do you take gloves off when you got all knives? You might poke something. Or what if you get that itch, Or you get that itch on your nose?
Oh my God. I'm not going into this because there's so many movies with knife hands.
So anyway, before we spend 4 hours, the idea of the glove, it was Wes Craven came up with that because he wanted the character to have like a unique weapon, but also something he could make cheaply. Because I mean, Freddy's not a rich guy when he was human, and it wouldn't be too difficult to transport and stuff like that. And
Right.
he studied. He was studying the primal fears and stuff, the subconscious of people and cultures and stuff, and he kind of discovered the fears of attacks by an animal with claws.
Oh.
And around the same time, he was kind of observing his cat and how the cat would unsheath its claws and stuff. And, those two kind of swirled around in his mind. And that's where we get the glove. Now, a lot of people think those are steak knives or fishing knives and stuff like that. But the knives that they used were actually tomato knives, kind of flipped around. So their curved ends were the ones that would come at you. Because, I mean, if you did that out of steak knives, it wouldn't make much sense because they're curved towards you. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, they're tomato knives. So if anybody is building a custom Freddy knife or Freddy glove, use tomato knives. And actually, God, I'm so fucking nerdy. The case XX P210 is the model of knives that they used on this film. So moving on.
Oh my gosh.
So sorry you married me.
Me too. Me too. So Tina says, please God. And Freddy says, this is God. And puts the glove up by his face.
Ooh, this is God. Yeah, it's just, ugh.
It didn't work.
No, it didn't. I just taken a drink.
So he starts to chase her and chases her for a minute. And then he says, watch this. And then cuts off 2 of his fingers.
Yeah, and this is kind of shit I'm telling you about. Or I'm talking about. Like, Freddy's fucking yucking it up as he is about to kill you.
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
Well, it's just a way to freak you out. It's like a mind thing,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just like, well, think about it. Like, Jason and all the other guys are just going to fucking kill you, right? Like, it's kind of quick most of the time. I mean, unless Jason does that head squeeze thing. But, most of the time that's fucking quick. But with Freddy, he's kind of fucking with you. Kind of like a cat plays with its food,
Oh,
So,
I
like,
see.
it's kind of like when the freaky dude at school would punch himself in the face and you're like, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to fight or be around you. It's that same kind of fucking mind fuck that Freddy's doing with you. And that's why I've always said I would never want to be killed by Freddy.
Oh, no.
Because it's not going to be quick. It's going to be drawn out. There might be several dreams before he gets to it. But he just fucking enjoys fucking with them. It's fucked up.
Okay, I see. I was just like, huh? So Tina tries to get back in the house, but the door's locked. And so they start to like rustle around. And at this time, obviously this is a dream. So Tina's moving around in the bed, and this wakes up Rod. And so he starts to get freaked out. And then at this time, he sees Tina get sliced.
Oh, yeah.
By
man.
Freddy's hand.
Oof.
And, obviously he doesn't see Freddy's hand. He just sees the slicing. And so then he does he get hit by Tina or just tossed or what? I guess I missed that part.
Yeah, because she raises up off the bed and starts like swinging around because Freddy's doing all this, but you can't see Freddy because now we're kind of seeing it from Rod's point of view.
Yeah.
And I think we get a few flashes of Tina's kind of wrestling with Freddy in the bed, sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she spins around in midair, and that's when she knocks Rod into the wall, which is kind of silly. It's kind of slapstick. But but then she starts getting dragged across the ceiling.
Yeah, she's upside down, and she's getting dragged for like from the wall up to the ceiling.
Yeah. And this scene, they shot this with a rotating room set, which kind of slowly spun, and it allowed her to kind of roll into the positions. The camera was bolted on the wall, and the cameraman was strapped into a chair beside it, which it turned the tandem with the room, or it turned in tandem with the room. Wow, I can't talk. But for the two shots where Rod and Tina reach for one another, which we see, she really is laying on the ground floor, and Garcia is upside down, with his hair pasted down to stay flat, which the
that's
effect.
crazy.
And they've always said the effect was so good that just before shooting began, Amanda Wyss got like a bad case of vertigo.
Oh no.
Yeah, because of how they were turning things and stuff like that. But again, practical effects are amazing, and it's just, god damn, it looks so real.
It really did.
Yeah.
Wow. So Tina's on the ceiling and she's screaming and she falls into the bed. And she falls like into the bed, but then off of it. And there's blood everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And by this point, Nancy and Glenn had heard what was going on. And they're trying to get in the room, but they couldn't get in because the door was locked. Rod can't do anything because he doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
He can't see anybody but Tina. And he's freaking out. They're freaking out. And that's where this scene ends. You're at the police station. Two cops are walking in, and they're talking about Tina and Rod and what's going on. And one of the guys is like, well, why was Nancy there? And the guy's like, I don't know. And you realize that it's Nancy's dad because he walks in and Nancy and her mom are sitting in this chairs, and he's like, why were you there?
Yeah. The dad is played by John Saxon, who is in one of my favorite non-horror movies, Enter the Dragon, where him and Bruce Lee are fighting in it. They're fighting together, not against each other in a karate tournament. Randomly. But random facts. Spewing out all corners of me tonight. But no, John Saxon's amazing, and he's really underrated actor. If you ever get a chance to see any of his work, go for it. Like, he's a really good actor. Sorry. I get excited about these movies.
It's okay. So he wants to know why she was there, and why, and he calls Rod a lunatic, and she's like, he isn't a lunatic. He didn't do this. Tina dreamed this was going to happen. But nobody wants to listen to her. She's like off her deep end, they think. And he's convinced that Rod killed her. It's the next day, and Nancy's mom is watching the news. She sees Nancy come in, so she turns the TV off, and Nancy's going to school. And her mom's like, no, you should stay home for a few days. And she's like, no, I just want to keep busy.
Right.
And her mom's like, well, you didn't sleep. And she's like, well, I'll sleep in study hall. So she leaves, and she's going to walk to school, but she sees people watching her. She walks a little bit further, and then she gets grabbed into the bushes, and it's Rod. And he says he never touched Tina. And trying to explain to her that someone was attacking Tina, but he couldn't see who it was. And Nancy's listening to him, and she kind of agrees. And her dad shows up, and he's got a gun pointed at Rod. Rod gets up and runs off. There are cop cars waiting for him. He has no choice. He gets down on the ground so that they can arrest him. Nancy is mad that her dad used her to get to Rod. I guess they knew that Rod was going to wait for her.
Yeah, probably. I mean, likely they were probably staking out Glenn too. Because
I didn't think about that.
Two other friends, and they were just trying to see where he would turn up, is the thing. Because, I mean, we get an ominous, like... I just thought it was funny that, like, one of the cops was, like, dressed in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, standing at the end, I was like an FBI agent.
Like a Secret Service.
Like, this
like
small town does not have an FBI, one FBI agent. Just one.
Right. So she goes to school. Even her dad says, like, you shouldn't go to school. So she goes anyway.
Gotta get that learning.
I guess.
Jesus.
So the teacher's talking about what is seen is not always real, blah, blah, blah. And she's going on and on.
Oh, and the teacher here is played by Lynn Shay, who is the sister of Robert Shay, who owns New Line, or owned New Line. He doesn't anymore, but
okay.
Lynn Shay is in the Insidious movies. She's the older lady. I forget her name in those movies, but she's the clairvoyant and stuff that takes them into the further and stuff like that. I don't think you've seen any Insidious movies yet. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I know. I was about to say.
My bad, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
But Lynn Shay's huge. She's.
She wasn't that fat.
No, shut. And her brother, Bob Shay, they. Why are you laughing?
Bob Shay.
Yeah, Robert Shay, Bob Shay.
Okay.
They make cameos in all these movies, or most of all of them. I think Lynn is only in a few, but Robert Bob, whatever you want me to call him, is in pretty much all of them. He pops up. I think in this one, he's a voice on a TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the teacher's talking about what is seen is not always real, blah, blah, blah. And Nancy starts to fall asleep. So she starts to dream since she's sleeping, and she sees blood in the hallway. She goes to check it out. When she gets into the hallway, she sees Tina. And Tina's being dragged. She's like under a sheet, and she's being dragged down the hallway. So Nancy starts to run, and she runs into somebody with a green and red sweater, and it's a woman. A girl?
Yeah.
Hall monitor?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. And she says, no running in the hallway. And she's got the Freddy Krueger glove on.
Yeah, she says it kind of in Freddy's voice.
Yeah.
No running in the hallways. But, yeah, and it's really creepy. If you noticed, Freddy's really creepy towards these kids, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, okay, in the original draft that Wes Craven came up with, like, he was a child molester plus a child murderer. But, you know, Wes was like, yeah, that's a little much. Especially because during the time that this movie was going to come out and stuff like that, there was a rash of child molestations and stuff that were hit in the news. Oh. Which there's always been. People have always been fucking evil. But so Wes was like, you know, we'll tone that part down. Just make him a child murderer. You can imply some weird, creepy shit, but that'd be about it. And I think that's the right way to go with the character. Because
I think so too.
It makes him kind of likable. You know what I mean? Now, later, you're rooting for Freddy the entire time. But it makes it to where he's not... It doesn't make the movie mean and disgusting.
Right.
Which... in the fucking remake, they make him a complete child molester. He doesn't murder any kids when they were younger. He just molested them all.
Oh.
And they all start remembering. And it's really gross and it's really mean. And I do not like the remake, even though I own it. But yeah, it's... We'll do the remake one day, but it's just mean-spirited and it's terrible.
Right. So Nancy follows the blood trail to the boiler room.
Yep. Now, the boiler room always plays a big part in these movies, which you learn later when Nancy's mom tells the story.
Yeah. And as she's walking, you can see in the boiler room, you can see Freddy Krueger like looking at her. He's watching her. And he jumps out and cuts himself. And this yellow goo and maggots come out.
Ugh, yeah. Ugh. More mind fucking.
Yeah. And he starts to chase her. And Nancy starts to yell, it's only a dream. sorry. She starts to yell, "It's only a dream, god damn you." And she wakes up in class and she's frantic, you know.
Yeah.
She's waking up from this nightmare.
Now, did you see the part where she burns herself to wake herself up?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so what she does in the dream, she says, "It's only a dream, it's only a dream." And something pops in her mind and she gets the idea to put her hand on this boiler room pipe, which is like steaming. And she puts it on there. And oh God, the entire time Freddy's walking towards her. And this is where we get the line, "Come to Freddy here." Blah. Come to, whatever. Come to Freddy, and he's licking his tongue and stuff like that, which that's the implied gritty grossness. But yeah, she burns herself, and that's what brings her out of her nightmare. That's why that's when she starts kind of putting it together, things that happen in my dream happen to me in real life because she has the burn on her arm.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she wakes up and the teacher's like, "Let me call your mom." And she was like, "No, I'm just going to walk home. I'm going to go straight home." So she leaves. But instead of going home, she goes to the jail. Yeah. She wants to see Rod.
Right.
So she's talking to Rod and she says, "Was there someone there?" No, sorry. Rod says there was someone there under the covers, and he says he couldn't see the guy, but he could see 4 razors cutting Tina at the same time. And he thought it was just another nightmare. And so he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he wants to know if Nancy thought that he did it. Well, she runs off because she is scared because of him saying 4 razors cutting her at the same time.
Yeah, because she gets freaked out because obviously they're all having the same nightmare.
Right.
They're all seeing the same guy, so it's all connected.
Right. And this freaks her out, so she leaves. Mm-hmm. But she tells him before she leaves that she doesn't think that he did it.
Right. And Heather Langenkamp. My God, the crush I had on her growing up.
Why?
Oh, just the big hair.
Ugh.
This brunette. She had the big old eyes.
No.
She had the nose.
No.
She's Heather Langenkamp.
Put it back in your pants.
Yeah. Oh. No, so she beat out over 200 actresses for the role of Nancy Thompson.
Holy shit.
Which among them was Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, and Claudia Wells. Now, if you think about all those actresses, they're all super beautiful.
Right.
I think by going with Heather Langenkamp, who's beautiful, but she's a girl next door kind of beautiful.
Simple.
Yeah, simple. Like normal. Like a normal.
Normal. There you go.
I mean, that sounds terrible. I'm not calling Courtney Cox or somebody not normal. But she was the next door kind of girl. And I think by going with her, that's an excellent decision. Because you get the feeling that this is not... It's an everyday girl. It's not like in the Friday the 13th franchise where they're all like super hot teenagers. All the people in this film really aren't super hot. I mean, sure, the guys are, sort of. I mean, but then again, we didn't know Johnny Depp was Johnny Depp yet, so that's not fair.
That's true.
In fact, he was so like fucking Johnny Depp was so like worried about his performance. Wes Craven had to take him aside and give him some reassurance. You're doing a good job, and it's really funny how all these people who get started in horror movies, you think back and you're like, wow, they thought they sucked. Look at them now. But yeah, she beat out all those actresses, and I think the casting, which Wes Craven was always spot on with his casting. He never made a mistake with that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problem with the casting.
Right.
Except for Nancy's mom needs to tone down on the tanning bed. Her face looked like leather.
Now, Nancy's mom is played by Ronee Blakley, I believe how you pronounce it. And she played a country superstar in the movie Nashville in 1975. And this is several years before playing Nancy's mother. I'm assuming that maybe she was hitting the tanning bed pretty hard before
That's what it looked like.
Because, yeah, you're right. She does look super tanned.
But just her face. Well, I guess you don't really see the rest of her body.
Right. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to look like, because Nancy's mom has a pretty bad alcohol problem. She's just drinking throughout this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe they tried to make her look, I don't know. But
sickly?
Maybe they were going for that.
Jaundice?
Jaundice.
Because it's got liver
failure. Is falling out? I don't know. There's a scene towards the end of the movie that always makes me laugh. It's where Nancy peeks out of the room and she sees her mom pull out like this big old vodka bottle and start like chugging.
Oh, yeah.
And Nancy like doesn't really skip a beat, but because it's like right before she's about to fight Freddy or see Freddy or something like that. And she turns around like, okay, one nightmare at a time. We'll deal with this nightmare later. I'm going to deal with this one right now.
Right. My mom's not trying to kill me.
Yeah, I can't deal with this right now. We'll deal with that later.
So for our next scene, this is probably your favorite scene in this whole movie. Keep it in your pants for this one, okay?
Oh.
Nancy's taking a bath.
Yep.
A bubble bath.
Yep. You know, our listeners are like, dude, this is gross. Does this guy have an orgasm on the
air? Stop.
No. Don't worry. I'm an adult now. I can control that kind of thing.
Can you?
I'll be back.
Oh, God. Stop.
Joking. But yeah, she's taking a bath, and this is another fucking famous scene that you'll see on anybody's like YouTube cut up videos online. The bathtub scene is just so fucking famous.
Yeah. So she's taking a bath. She's kind of singing the Freddy Krueger song. That's what I call it. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, so at the time, Heather Langenkamp's boyfriend, who would soon to be her husband, came up with that song.
Oh.
Yeah, he came up with the rhyme, which is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better
lock the door.
Lock the door.
Yeah.
5, 6, grab your crucifix.
7,
8, better stay up late.
Yeah.
And then 9, 10. Never sleep again.
Yeah.
So yeah, he came up with that, and so it's kind of throughout this movie. Now I remember you asking why we were watching this about the rhyme. You're like, now is this something? Is this a real thing? Because it's like throughout this entire movie.
Right.
And there's no real explanation to it. And I think what we're supposed to take is that throughout the years, because we get the full backstory later from Nancy's mom, through the years, this kind of like rhyme has been passed down about Freddy.
So kind of like the rhyme that we know, but they know it as that.
Right, the rhyme Ring Around the Rosie. Only, there's a span of decades between that. In this, I'm assuming there's like some years.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Like 10 maybe. 10 years or so. So yeah, I think it's just passed down and people sing it. But they don't really know what they're singing.
Right.
Because everybody kind of wants to forget Freddy Krueger, the Springwood slasher is what they called him. But yeah, so.
Anyway. She's singing the song and she's falling asleep. As she's falling asleep, the glove comes up from the tub. She's got her. This is very hard to explain. There's bubbles. Huh?
When you take a bath as a woman,
yeah,
do you sit like this in the bathtub?
No.
Oh, okay. So
that's why this is hard to explain.
This was all for younger me then.
Yes.
Okay.
Because she's sitting there with her legs open, but you don't see anything. Obviously, she's taking a bubble bath. All you see is her knees, but her legs are spread, and between her leg comes up Freddy's glove. Then there's a knock on the door, and the glove goes away.
Right. And so the way they achieved this scene, which I know, I didn't know if you were wondering this, but
we all knew you were going to tell us.
So the way they achieved this scene was they shot this bathroom set, which had been built over a swimming pool.
Okay.
So so they had the capability, and I'm sure she's sitting on a platform or something when she's sitting, and that may be why her legs are spread, but also to give that, like I said, that hint of grody Freddy sex stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just a swimming pool with a bathroom set built over it.
So her mom knocks on the door and she tells her she'll drown if she falls asleep. Nancy's like, whatever. Not listening to her.
You know, my mom used to tell me that all the time. If you fall asleep, you'll die.
I mean, you could.
I guess you could. I don't know. I don't know why she was telling me not to fall asleep in the bathtub. I'm never going to fall asleep in there, Mom.
You weren't taking baths after not sleeping?
No.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Lee here with the...
I'll take it from here. It's time for Night of the Horrorphile shoutouts. First up, Cigar Goyle at Cigar Goyle on Twitter. Thanks for the awesome Friday the 13th Vengeance beanie and the generous Fangoria subscription. Next up, Laura Bierman, the gratuitous blogger for the JoeBobBriggs.net. Thanks for all the support. Next up, Seth at BeerNut1 on Twitter for all the kind words. And to the entire Mutant family for being amazing listeners and friends. Don't forget, if you want to write into the Horrorphile mailbag, shoot us a letter at horrorphilemailbag@gmail.com. I'm your podcaster now.
So, her mom tells her that she's got a warm glass of milk for her. And Nancy's like, warm milk? Gross.
I know.
And she says what I'm thinking. I was like,
yeah.
Ugh.
Because like in older movies and stuff like that, you hear it about people drinking warm milk all the time, and it's just like, ew.
I had an ex-boyfriend that drank warm milk before he went to bed.
Oh, that is...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And you
It
give
was
me shit
pretty
about knowing all this movie stuff.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying. At least I'm not drinking warm milk like a psychopath. Sorry to anybody who enjoys a glass of warm. There's someone listening to us right now.
With their warm milk.
You motherfuckers.
They're like, you should try this.
It's delicious, you pieces of shit.
You pieces of shit.
I like my warm milk.
Like,
Fucking. I'm getting on Twitter right now.
there's not enough characters in this tweet. I'm going to have to double tweet.
It's like one of those like chapter tweets where they have to number it.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, anyway, where milk is gross.
Mhm.
Nancy starts to fall asleep. And just like her mother said, she starts to drown.
Yeah.
She gets pulled under,
Mhm.
and it looks like a big body of water.
Yeah.
It's obviously not the bathtub
this
anymore.
This is the swimming pool. And,
Right.
Well, it's a dream. There's a lot of
yeah.
like, it's that dream imagery they use in this, which you remember our episode on Mary Lou.
Yes.
The same people who worked on this movie worked on that movie.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why in Mary Lou you had these weird fucking dream sequences in the middle of nowhere. But in this movie it makes sense. But I mean, not that Mary Lou was bad. But anyway, so yeah, in this scene where she gets dragged under the water,
She's not wearing a top.
No, and to my disappointment, it's not Langenkamp.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's a stunt woman named Christina Johnson. But
sorry, I'm a child.
what?
I'm a teenager.
Oh, Johnson? Johnson made you laugh? Johnson got you. Oh, that's spectacular. I love you.
I was thinking about boobs and thinking about nipples, and you said Johnson.
Johnson. So
we did have bratwurst for dinner.
Oh my god. So yeah, to my disappointment, it was not Langenkamp naked underwater, but
damn it.
But Heather Langenkamp spent 12 fucking hours in the bath during filming. To get this scene just right. And it's just, I mean, and I know we make fun of all these facts and weird shit, I know, but like, I really think it's important to know what went into your movie you're enjoying. Even the people who say, like, there's people who hate A Nightmare on Elm Street. But, like, it may not make it better for you, but at least respect what went into it.
Oh, yeah, the hard work.
Yeah, 12 fucking hours in a bathtub. You do that.
Yeah, fuck that. Maybe she needed to be a better actress, and it would have only taken 1 minute, not 12 hours. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, Kristen Stewart.
Oh, God.
Shots fired.
So she's obviously screaming and drowning in the bathtub, and her mom's trying to get in the door. And as her mom gets in, she's getting out of the bathtub because she's woken up at this point. And Nancy just tells her mom that she slipped when she's trying to get out. And her mom's like, oh, okay. Well, it's time for you to go to bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And Nancy's like, okay, I'll get dressed. But she opens the medicine cabinet. I was like, whoa, what's the name of that thing? She opens the medicine cabinet and she finds these energy pills because she just does not want to go to sleep.
Right.
Obviously, she's going to have nightmares no matter what. So she wants to stay awake. So Nancy is watching TV and she's nodding off, which she didn't want to do. Then she hears something at the window and she goes over and it's Glenn and he's coming through the window. So Glenn says he heard about her freak out at school and she's looking in the mirror and she says she looks 20 years old. I'm like, bitch. I look 20 years old.
And I think during filming this, I think she was 19 or something. I can't remember.
Probably. I don't know. But even when I was like 10 and you look at people that are 20, I never thought, oh, they look old. But 30 was old to me.
And
I'm going to be 30 this year.
Yeah, I'm 32. I don't want to hear about it.
I'm sad.
Don't be sad.
30.
Aging is fun. I don't know. After you hit 21, though, there's nothing really awesome to look forward to.
Dying.
Yeah, there's that.
You turn 21 and then you die.
Yay.
Nancy asked Glenn if he had any dreams. And he was like, no, I don't believe in the boogeyman. I was like, oh, okay.
That's not what I asked.
Right.
I think that's like a little like thing, because they're all having the same dreams. And I think he is too. So that's kind of saying, he's had the dream.
Right.
About Freddy. Even
but he doesn't want to admit that.
Right. So he's quick to say, oh, I don't believe in the boogeyman.
Right. But he does believe that Rob killed Tina. Rod. I wrote Rob. Sorry. He does believe that Rod killed Tina.
Right.
Oh, sorry. And Nancy comes up with this wild idea. She thinks that Glenn should stand guard while she sleeps, and she goes to look for someone. Okay. And she tells him to wake her when she starts, what was it, like fighting or something like that? And so she's goes to sleep and is dreaming, finally. She walks into the alley and she asks Glenn if he's still watching. And he pops out. He's like, yeah, I'm still here.
Now, does that mean he's fallen asleep? Because, we do find out he fell asleep.
Oh. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Or
know
maybe
either.
it's just her hearing his voice and she's in the dream, and I don't know.
Yeah, that would mean she was like kind of asleep, kind of not asleep, maybe.
That weird thing you do when you're asleep and like the TV's on and you start dreaming about the TV.
Yes. So, Nancy walks to the jail and she's like looking in the window or something, and she sees Rod sleeping. And then she sees Freddy Krueger messing with Rod. He's like slowly creeping under the blanket. So she keeps yelling for Glenn. She starts yelling for Glenn, sorry.
Yeah.
She's looking in the jail and she sees Rod sleeping. And as he's sleeping, Freddy Krueger is messing with him, like under the blanket, like snaking up on him. And Nancy starts just to yell for Glenn because she sees Freddy Krueger messing with Rod. And then she turns around and what was it that she saw?
I think it was Tina in a body bag.
Oh, okay.
Again.
Again, yes. So Freddy Krueger pops up and he starts to chase her. So she runs home, gets in the door, shuts the door, and as she's going up, the stairs are turning. What was that? Like mush?
Yeah, it's like this weird, like gushy shit. That's
Yeah,
like,
it was like, what the hell?
It's like the stairs are melting. In this scene, the melting staircase scene, it was shot using pancake mix, according to Heather Langenkamp.
Oh.
Wes Craven said it was oatmeal and glue, and but there's a fact track on the DVD that I have that says it was Bisquick pancake mix. So I don't know, but the scene was directed by Robert Shea. We talked, Bob Shea.
Oh yeah,
the one I talk about like I know him. No,
He's
from
your
New
best
Line.
friend.
He directed it because he was on set pressuring for the film to wrap, and so Craven told him, "Well, you can direct it."
So she's going up in this pancake mix, whatever, and Freddy Krueger breaks through the window. That was a little weird. So they go to her room, and she says, "This is just a dream. This is not real." And all of a sudden, he jumps through the mirror, and they wrestle around and fall on the bed. Then they fall off the bed.
Yeah.
He's trying to like cut her, and she puts a pillow in front of her just in time. And this pillow gets ripped open, and feathers go everywhere. And then her alarm goes off. And she sees Glenn. He's asleep. And
Goddamn Johnny Depp.
I know, right? She's like, you fell asleep. Then her mom comes. So he has to like hurry and go out the window. And she's like, just stay right there. Her mom checks on her and she says she's fine. Her mom leaves. And Glenn comes back in the window. And all of a sudden they get dressed because he wasn't wearing the same thing. I don't know. It jumps. It was a little weird. So they get dressed and they go to the jail to see Rod since Freddy Krueger was there with him.
Right.
They go in and Nancy's yelling at one of the police officers and she's like, I have to see Rod. I have to see Rod. And it kind of goes back and forth. I was like, what is my notes? It kind of pans back and forth. You see Nancy yelling at the policeman. Then you see Freddy Krueger in Rod's sheets and it's kind of like bunching it up.
Yeah, like the sheets are snaking.
Yeah.
And stuff like.
And inching their way up.
Yeah.
And then Nancy's dad comes and he's like, why are you here? Blah, blah, blah. And she asks him to go check on Rod. She's like, can you at least just go look at him? So they go to check on him.
Yeah.
And he did.
He did.
Got
Freddy hung him.
He got hung by the sheet.
Which, I guess Freddy plans things out, so.
Yes.
Doesn't get led back to him. I mean, but why
right.
is he sneaking around? He's a dream demon.
I don't know.
Sorry. That's weird. I'm digging too deep into this part of the movie.
I don't know. But I have questions too, okay? So the next scene that we see is a funeral for Rod.
Ooh.
But why did they have a funeral for Rod and not a funeral for Tina?
I don't know. I'm assuming they had one, maybe, but we didn't see it.
But why would we see a funeral for...
I don't know. I will tell you, though, of all the, like, slasher movies, this fucking movie, like, this series of movies, they're having funerals left and right for people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, they really... Maybe not Tina, now that you mention it.
I was like, what are you talking about?
But they do acknowledge that, like, people are dying around them, which is kind of cool. Because if you go, I mean... Shit, and later on in Wes Craven's career, they have Scream. I don't think anyone has funerals for anybody.
We'll have to look into that. We'll have to remember this.
I know, see?
But Tina doesn't get a funeral. And I wonder if it's because they were investigating...
Maybe, I don't know.
A murder.
Maybe
like,
it's
they
private.
think it was a murder, so maybe they just didn't have one yet.
Now we're digging too far into Tina's funeral.
I've watched too many murder shows. So, after the funeral, Nancy tells her dad that... Whoa. I don't know what I just said. Nancy tells her dad that the killer is still there and tells him about Freddy Krueger. That he's burned, he wears a nasty, dirty sweater, and he's got finger knives.
Finger knives.
And her dad tells her that she needs to stay home. Oh, no, sorry. Her dad tells her mom that she needs to stay home. And
Yeah.
her mom's like, no, I'm going to get her help.
Oh. Oh, no.
Oh, you know, typical
Stuff.
co-parenting
Yeah.
fights.
Stuff that begins with "I'm going to get her help" usually doesn't end well either. But so earlier when when Nancy is running from Freddy and stuff, we saw and how she runs up the stairs and stuff like that. Well, there's a part where she enters her house, you know, because she's running away from him.
Mm-hmm.
When she enters, she's got like a limp, like a slight limp if you watch closely.
Oh.
And
really?
that's because she actually cut the bottom of her foot.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, while running, and it required stitches. So, like...
Oh.
And if you look real close, you can see the bandage she's wearing in the last shot of the goo stairs sequence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can definitely see a little bandage, but it required stitches on her foot.
That's terrible.
More work these people do to give us movies we love.
That's crazy. That's sad.
That's sad.
Stitches in the bottom of your foot?
God, that would hurt.
That
I
would
couldn't
suck.
imagine that.
Right? So, her mom takes her to a sleep disorder hospital.
Which, are these real? Like, is this a real thing?
I know they have, like, sleep doctors, but I don't know about a sleep hospital. That's weird. I don't know.
I don't know.
They have specialists.
Somebody tweet us.
Tell me.
Tell us.
So she's getting hooked up to all these machines because she's going to do a sleep study. And Nancy's asking for some kind of pill to stop her dreaming because she does not want to sleep and she does not want to dream.
Mm-hmm.
But after much persuasion, the doctor convinces her to just go to sleep. She's like, fine, whatever.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's already exhausted from trying to keep herself up. Because she has... Is it at this point she has that little shock of white hair?
Little shock of what?
There's like a little strip of gray in her hair at this point.
Oh, I
Is it
think
at this
so,
point?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So she agrees to go to sleep. The doctor and her mom go in the other room to watch the monitors and stuff. And her mom is telling the doctor that Nancy thinks her dreams are real. And the doctor tells her, dreams are just body hocus pocus. We don't know where they come from. So, as he's telling her this, Nancy starts to dream. And then she starts to have a nightmare. And he's like showing the mom, like, this is her dreaming. This is her nightmare.
Yeah.
But then the nightmare part goes out of control, and he's like, I've never seen this before. Because it's like off the charts. The little needles are going off the charts.
Yeah.
So they have to go wake her up. So they go to wake her up, and the nurse comes in, and she's trying to give her something for sleep, to go back to sleep, I guess. And Nancy pushes her.
And I think it's in the scene where her hair turns white. Anyway, so the nurse that we see here is played by Wes Craven's ex-wife, Mimi Craven, actually.
Oh, that's cool. Well, she gets pushed, so...
She gets pushed the fuck away.
So you could see burns on Nancy's arm, and she pulls out a hat from under her sheet. And they're like, what the hell? And her mom's like, where did you get that? And she said, I grabbed it off his head. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and you can tell her mom kind of recognizes it slightly.
Yeah. Because obviously she's...
Yeah. Which we'll find out that later.
So they go back home because Nancy is done sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. And Nancy overhears her mom on the phone, and then her mom quickly gets off the phone. Sorry. And Nancy goes in to get coffee because she didn't sleep. And her mom tells her to stop drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And Nancy tells her that this guy is after them in her dreams, or their dreams, sorry. And she said that she saw in the hat that his name was Fred Krueger, not Freddy. It's not Freddy yet.
Fred Krueger. Nice to meet you. Hi, Fred Krueger here.
Sound like a businessman.
Hi, Fred. I'm sorry.
Is Fred and Freddy short for Frederick?
Maybe. Oh, no. Hi, Frederick Krueger here. That sounds like a fucking car salesman.
It does.
I see you're looking at the S-Class. This...
Oh, my God.
What's it going to take for Frederick Krueger to get you in this car today?
Oh, my God.
Oh, just him staring at the sales board.
Oh my gosh.
Come to Freddy.
Anyway, so I guess this triggers her mom because she makes a face, and Nancy's like, "Wait, who is that?" And her mom's like, "You know what? You'd feel better if you sleep." She said, "Maybe I feel better if I got loaded with you." And then bitch got slapped.
Ooh, shots fired. Again. Oh.
It was pretty great. So her mom tells her, Fred Krueger is dead. You were sick and imagining things. And Nancy says, screw sleep. Throws down a coffee cup. And her mom says, it's just a nightmare.
Mom's in denial. I mean, and she has a drinking problem, so that doesn't help. But
maybe she's in denial about the drinking problem.
Probably. I can quit anytime I want. All right, anyway, but so obviously we're getting little inklings at something. Mom knows fucking something. And I appreciate this kind of storyline because they do kind of flesh out Krueger.
Yes.
A little bit more than, your Jasons or your Michael Myers, Michael Myers. They fucking suck when they flesh Michael Myers. When they go too deep, it gets fucking stupid.
Too deep,
with Michael Myers. Yeah.
Too deep. I have to tell you something. I have to confess something to you.
Fuck, marry, kill? Because, okay.
No.
Fuck Freddy Krueger.
Oh.
Well, it seems like he'd be a sweet talker.
But he's going to cut you with his finger knives.
Well, no, I don't know. I'd kill Michael Myers and I'd marry Jason. He just seems loyal.
Oh. But I have to tell you something.
He loves his mama. Go ahead, what?
I have to tell you something. I thought, when I was younger, I thought that Michael Myers... I thought two things. I just remembered something.
It's taking a little while.
Just remembered something. Because I don't want to admit this to you. Okay.
But the whole point of this podcast is that you don't know anything about.
And I didn't know anything for a long time. Okay. For a long time, I thought Jason was Michael Myers. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the Jason mask was Michael Myers.
Well, I've known a few people that thought that.
And then I thought that Michael Myers, like, under the mask was Michael Myers, the actor. The Austin Powers actor.
Mike Myers?
Mike Myers.
Whoa, that's weird.
Because isn't Austin Powers, that's Mike Myers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought
okay,
that
that's
was...
a little weird. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. I could forgive you for that.
You know, when you're a little kid
Yeah.
and you don't, when you realize that other people have the same name as you.
You know, nobody calls Freddy Fred. But with Michael Myers, I've run into so many people who call him Mike Myers. And it bothers the fucking piss out of me.
That's not his name.
Like, why are you calling him Mike? No one in the whole entire movie franchise called him Mike. Well, except for Busta Rhymes, but we don't talk about that sequel.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, pretty much. He calls him Mike through that whole fucking thing. But, no, so it just always bothered me, but...
Yeah, that was my confession.
That's funny. I'm sorry.
Just imagine Michael Myers taking off his mask and here's Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby.
That's groovy. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do the voice. Oh, it's been a long time. Anyway.
Oh, you ran. I can't do it either, I don't think.
I know.
Oh, wow, we're talking about Mike Myers. We need to get back to
Okay,
that.
anyway. So, Nancy and Glenn go to have lunch. Am I at the right spot? Yes, I am. Okay, sorry. They go to have lunch, and Glenn has a bunch of food. And he's like, when I don't sleep, I eat. And he's just got all this food.
Yeah.
And he says something about he's got dream skills. No, he's talking about, what is this? Like, ancient people have dream skills?
Yeah, he names it, but it's something about, like, basically this whole scene is him talking about, like, this people he read about believe that, like, they could control their dreams and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, you know, she gets that idea later.
Oh, yeah, because he says to wake up and write down your dream and to turn your back on the monsters.
Yeah, which it, you know, leads to our ending.
Right. And we discover that Nancy's reading about booby traps.
Booby traps.
Booby traps. And that comes to play later, too.
Speaking about boobies, man.
Oh, stop. No. No. No.
Oklahoma is boob central, everyone.
You can see boobies here.
It's so funny because I was at work and there was a dude who was really mad about it. Like, I was like, why are you so upset?
Okay, so you want to see boobs so bad. Does that mean I can walk around topless too?
No.
No, that is not how this works.
No, I don't want to see boobs that bad. I was just joking. But it just really cracks me up, some of these dudes who are, like, upset about it.
Everybody's upset about it.
Like, why? Why are you so upset? It's just boobs.
I don't
You
know.
will live, I promise. Oh my gosh.
Because, I don't know, maybe fear of desexualizing them.
Oh, Lord, don't let that happen, I guess. Fucking weirdos. Anyway,
so Nancy goes home to find out that her home is now a prison.
Yeah.
Because there's
Bars
bars on all the windows and all the doors.
Yeah, speaking of doors, the door on this house is blue in this one.
Okay.
And this house, it's famous because it's in, like, almost all the sequels. And it's famous for having a red door. In fact, if you go, you can go see the house now. It's still around, and they still keep that door red and the roof green, and everything kind of still the same.
But why is it blue?
I don't know. It's funny because it's famous for having that red door, but that's in weird. The very first movie, it has a blue door. And it's just really funny because, and even I don't even know if this makes any sense, but in this movie, like the door on the house is blue and the convertible they drive is red. And then in the second movie, the sequel, the door's red and the convertible's blue.
Oh.
I don't know what was happening.
Weird. Okay.
It's just some kind of weird fact I needed to purge from my brain before it explodes. These shows are therapy for me, people.
And yet you're still going to tell this to the kids.
Oh, I'm going to be 80
to the
years
neighbor.
Old. That's how
to the topless people
that's
down
how
the
my
road.
senility is going to be when I get older. When I go senile, it's just going to be random movie facts popping out.
Did you know? Did you know?
Did you know? In the background of Halloween 2. Yes, Mr. Evans? What? Wes Craven. What the fuck? That's old man Evans. Just sits there staring out the window talking about horror movies.
Anyway, back to our story. Back to our regular scheduled program.
We're having fun with this one. It's the middle of the spooky season. We're good.
So, Nancy's mom wants her to go to the cellar with her. And so she goes down there with her. And her mom's digging in, what is that? Like a fireplace?
It's a furnace.
It's a furnace, okay. Yeah. And she pulls out Freddy Krueger's glove. I was about to say fingers.
Now, okay. Here's a problem I've had with this movie. I get it, because her mom sits there and tells them the story about how they killed Freddy and stuff like that. And the town's parents got together because he was a child murderer, and they torched him in his boiler room. But what gets me about this is, why did they keep the hand knives that he used to kill all the kids?
I don't know. Why wouldn't they burn that?
Or throw it, get rid of it? Why are you keeping this child murderer's weapon in your house? Why are you cool with this? Is it a trophy? Should we be more worried about the mom?
Oh, baby. Is this what started her drinking?
Ooh. Well, yeah. Definitely killing a person. Probably. Do it to you. But in this scene in the script, it was extended, and her mom went into more detail, saying that like Freddy didn't die instantly.
Oh Jesus!
And it's just like he come busting out all burning and shit, and as the flames like were taking him, and he threatened all the parents and swore revenge and stuff, swore to do what he's doing now. And Nancy's mom was like, she took a gun and shot him in the head.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so like, it's like, damn.
Oh, so that happened. No wonder he came back for revenge.
Bart. Well, Fred Krueger.
Oh my goodness.
I'm here to kill you tonight.
So she tells her the story or whatever. You just went through it.
Yeah.
I don't need to go through it. But then she's like, so now you could sleep. Like,
yeah,
no,
Mom.
bitch.
Awesome. You and Dad got together with some other parents and torched a fucking child murderer. I'll sleep just fine.
Oh, my God.
But, we're sitting here talking and laughing like this is funny shit, but really when you're watching this movie, it's scary as fuck.
Oh, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, this movie holds up, honestly. But also, another thing was, like, in a more extended thing, it was supposed to be, like, is a deleted scene. And it was featured on the Laserdisc and the VHS from Anchor Bay. And we learned that Nancy and like many of her friends in the neighborhood weren't like the only children. They had a brother or a sister that was killed by Freddy.
Oh, I see.
So it kind of gives more. The deleted scene would give more of a motive, but I don't know. I think it's just the mob vengeance was pretty cool. You know,
I mean,
that works.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't do that too.
Right.
Whether one of my kids was dead or not, you know. Yeah. Don't touch the children. Anyway. So Nancy goes and calls Glenn. Mm-hmm. And he asked her when the last time she slept was. And she says, it's been 7 days. Whew. But I looked it up and the record's 11.
Man, I can't.
So she's okay.
I can't even stay awake past midnight.
Oh my God. I can't
7 days of no sleep.
I can't even like function on less than 6 hours of sleep.
Oof.
I like my sleep. So she says the record's 11. So she's okay. But she wants to tell him that if Fred Krueger gets her, then he's next.
Yeah.
And so she wants to bring Freddy out of her dream.
Yeah.
And so she tells him she needs her help. She wants to get a hold of him, or she has to be a hold of him when she wakes up. And then Glenn has to be there to cold cock him. Who says cold cock?
I don't know.
I mean, this was the 80s, but okay.
Pull him out and whack the fucker.
Yeah, she's whack the fucker. We got him. And she says, be here at midnight. Don't fall asleep.
And poor Glenn's like, God damn.
Fuck. Oh, the things she'll do for love. And she's not even putting out.
I know. This guy really
not
likes her.
Worth it.
Poor Glenn. Poor Glenn. He gets it worse than everybody, I think.
Oh, yeah. So Nancy's taking more pills to stay awake. Mm-hmm. And Glenn falls asleep. It's like 5 minutes later, Glenn's asleep.
Glenn passes the fuck out.
So his mom goes in to wake him up. And she tells him, like, it's almost midnight. And I'm really digging this, like, little TV that he has on his bed.
Okay, so this little TV, my dad had one just like it. And he gave it to me, obviously. So, like, I had this TV. It was fucking great. It was the little rabbit ear black and white bullshit thing where you had to turn it with, like, a pair of pliers. But memories.
Memories. That's funny. So she tells him, like, it's almost midnight. Does he listen? No.
Which, by the way, why are you waking him up to tell him to go to sleep?
Oh, yeah. She woke him up to tell him to go to sleep.
Come on, lady.
And he was like, no, I'm staying up to see, what was it, Miss Naked America or something like that? Nude America. I was like, what? Was that a thing? Is that a thing?
His mom's like, well, how are you going to tell what she's saying? He's like, what does it matter? But so I don't know if that was a thing. Maybe. I wasn't alive during this time. Tweet us.
Tell us.
But yeah, so, and as Johnny Depp's character Glenn is falling asleep here before he meets his demise, if you listen to the radio, it says it's midnight and you're listening to station KRJR, which there's a little funny joke there. That's Krueger without the vowels. But
yeah.
But the voice is Robert Shea. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, he appears in every. Well, maybe not in person in this movie, but he appears in every single one of these movies. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, so he's asleep over at Nancy's house. She's kind of fallen asleep, and her mom goes in to check on her, and she says, it's over. The nightmare is over. And she walks out of her room and she's like taking coffee pots and mugs out. And Nancy has another coffee pot.
She's like, how many coffee?
Yeah, she had like 2 coffee pots.
It's like my dream house. Everywhere I turn has a coffee.
That is our house.
That's true.
Sammy spilled a cup of coffee in the bathroom yesterday. And I was like, why is there a cup of coffee in the bathroom?
Oh, he spilled my bathroom coffee?
Ew. That's disgusting.
That's my showering coffee.
I took it out of there because he spilled it and I cleaned the bathroom.
Oh.
Anyway. So Nancy decides that she needs to change clothes, and I don't know why. And she's checking to see if Glenn's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But much to her surprise, she sees Glenn's parents standing outside. And they're watching Nancy, which is kind of creepy. Well, Glenn's dad thinks that Nancy's a lunatic. And Glenn's mom's like, no, she's just nervous. And I was like, what?
She's just nervous. And she's standing in the window with gray hair and like dark circles under her eyes.
And Glenn's dad's like, I don't want him going around her. What? They're not even having sex. She's just not sleeping.
There is a dream demon trying to kill her. I think they're holding up pretty well.
I would have already been like, take me. Because I need to sleep.
I'm tired. Yeah, Freddy would get me in the first fucking night.
So Nancy goes to go out of her room. And she sees her mom drinking a huge bottle of alcohol. Just in the hallway. I don't understand.
Well, you gotta hide that stuff, I suppose. So.
When you and your daughter are the only ones that live in the house?
Yeah, you got your closet liquor.
But why not your bedroom
liquor?
Closet?
Well, I mean, it's true, because who else is she hiding?
Why your
from?
hall closet? Where the towels are. Anyway. Nancy calls Glenn, and his mom answers. This was so funny to me. First of all, you're calling after midnight. Second of all, his mom's like, okay, hold on a second. She looks at Glenn's dad and says, she says it's very private and very important. If Glenn's dad wouldn't have been there, she would have woken up Glenn to give him the phone.
So
and you
Glenn's
know it.
dad murdered his. So
Glenn's dad yells at Nancy, and he takes the phone off the hook. And Nancy's on the other line, or she tries to call back, and she realizes it's off the hook. So then she's trying to like telepathically talk to Glenn, and she goes to walk away, and the phone rings. So she goes to answer it because she thinks maybe it's Glenn, but she hears the fingernails scraping. Fingernails, whatever.
And they achieve that by scraping a steak knife underneath a chair. Could you imagine being the person doing that?
No. So she hears that noise, and then the phone line gets cut. So she puts the phone down, and then it rings again. And she picks it up. I'm like, what?
Well, she pulls the phone out of the wall when it scrapes.
Oh, she pulled the phone out of the wall. Sorry, I thought he cut it for some reason.
No.
I don't know. So she answers again, even though the phone line is pulled out. It still rings, and she answers, and it says, it's Freddy Krueger, and he's saying, I'm your boyfriend now.
It would be really funny if he sounded just like that.
Sorry.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. Whoa.
But the weirdest part is that the phone turns into a mouth. And it like licks her.
Yeah, ew. It gets in her mouth too. Supposedly, Heather Langenkamp kept this prop.
Hell yeah.
I would have. I was like,
me too.
That thing is cool as shit.
Right?
I want a Freddy mouth phone, although the tongue would get in your way while you're trying to talk to somebody.
Not if you're tonguing it back.
Ugh. Don't be making out with Freddy.
So she freaks out and smashes the phone.
Oh.
And she tries to go to the front door, but it's locked.
And her
Like
mom's-
from the inside.
Mom's fucking loaded on the couch.
Her mom is drunk as fuck.
Locked.
It's all locked up.
Like, oh, God damn it.
And she's like, I had to lock it all up because you're going to get some sleep. Oh, I was like, what? So cuts to Glenn sleeping, all peaceful with his television. And then all of a sudden, Freddy Krueger's hand busts through the bed and Glenn starts to sink into the bed.
Oof.
And at Nancy's house, Nancy's yelling for Glenn. I don't understand why it just cut to her screaming for Glenn, but it's not going to work. Anyway, back at Glenn's house, blood starts to spray as if out of the bed. Like,
Yeah, it's a geyser of fucking blood.
oh,
Obviously,
so much blood.
much more than what's in the human body. But
Right.
so for this sequence, where Johnny Depp's character is killed, they used the same room that they used for Tina's death, that revolving room I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
But they put it so it was upside down, and and attached the camera so that it looked like the room was right side up, obviously. And then they just poured gallons of red water. It was like a mixture of food coloring because they couldn't use the normal movie blood. It wouldn't look right.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted that burst. You know what I mean? So they had to use
so much blood.
Yeah. So they poured it and stuff into the room by pumping it down through the bed. And the room itself was like turned as the blood flowed.
Oh, yeah.
But it was turned in the wrong direction. So instead of like the blood gushing out of the bed and then splashing down the walls, it gushed out of the bed and out of the room through the open door where the camera and equipment was.
Oh, shit.
Where the exposed wires and electrical sockets.
Oh, fuck.
The power on the set went out and no one was injured. But on the DVD commentary, Wes Craven remarks that the room spinning the wrong way was like a Ferris wheel from hell.
Oh,
And
no.
the blood was water mixed with food coloring, and the scene was partly inspired by the elevator scene from The Shining, if you think about it. But yeah, so, I mean, obviously we didn't get the the rest of the scene where it flowed into the camera equipment, but man, I don't know. I can't think of a movie before this that employed a technique like this with the blood coming out of the bed and stuff.
Oh,
And it's
no.
just these weird, creepy nightmare sequences. It is what sets this apart from our other slashers
Right.
this Halloween. Like Leatherface and Michael Myers coming up. You know, Nightmare on Elm Street is its own thing. You know, it's a slasher, but it's its own little thing.
Right. Its own element.
Right.
Right. Fever dream. So, as this blood's just rushing, Glenn's mom walks in.
Oh.
And she starts to scream. And there's just so much blood. I wrote that like 4 times. So much blood. So, next thing we see is an ambulance comes. The police come. Nancy's dad's there, of course, because he's like, what, the chief of police or something?
Yes.
So Nancy's crying in the window because she can't get out of the house. So they're in the house and they're kind of inspecting things. And there's so much blood that it's pouring from the ceiling because Glenn's room's upstairs. So it's like dripping to the downstairs. Nancy calls Glenn's house and she wants to talk to her dad. So she's talking to her dad and she says, I know what happened and I want you to be here when I pull Freddy out of my dream.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells him it's Freddy Krueger and he knows who it is from before when she told him.
Yeah.
But nobody believes her. But she tells him to break down the door in 20 minutes and that gives her enough time to fall asleep. And he was like, you should do that. You should just sleep. Because everybody just wants her to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And she's like, just be here in 20 minutes to break down the door and I'll pull Freddy out. And he's like, oh, well, I'll have someone wait by the door and check for any funny business. So he sends someone out, and Nancy starts to make her booby traps. I don't know how she can make booby traps all over the house and talk to her mom and then fall asleep in 20 minutes. I don't get it. I don't understand. Because some of the traps she made, that's going to take like 20 minutes in itself. Like the sledgehammer above the door.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get a ladder. You got to get a sledgehammer.
Well, this is Nancy, though. She's badass.
Apparently. Apparently she's a speed demon, too. Even though she's tired, she's doing this all in 20 minutes.
Right.
So over at Glenn's house, the coroner is puking because he's never seen so much blood.
New guys in the corner throwing up. I don't know why that always reminds me.
What?
Good old Chris Farley.
I have no clue what you're talking about. Okay.
Nothing, don't worry about it. I'm hoping our listeners do.
What if you're the only one?
New guys in the corner throwing up.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I don't just watch horror movies.
So after Nancy's done setting up her booby traps, she goes to talk to her mom, and her mom's in bed, and she's drunk, of course. And she's babbling about something, says sometimes you have to turn away. I'm like, what? She's drunk.
She drunk.
She's drunk. Nancy says that she loves her. And she goes to lay down to go to bed. She says her prayer, the one, that's like, now I lay me down to sleep.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And she sets a timer on her watch and an alarm on her alarm clock. And she kind of has a flashback of Glenn talking to her and saying, turn your back on the monster, as she's like falling into sleep.
Yeah.
And she starts dreaming. And in her dream, she goes to the basement and she's looking for the glove, but it's not there anymore. And then out of the corner of her eye, she sees this other door. So she goes in that door and down the stairs, and it's a boiler room. And she starts to hear things. And so then she starts to yell for Freddy, saying that she's there. Just taunting him, basically. Mm-hmm. And as she's walking around looking for him, she finds Tina's cross. Then she finds Glenn's headphones, the ones that he had plugged into his little TV. And there's blood all over the headphones. And she says, show yourself, you bastard. So he does. He pops up and she runs off. This is a dream, so weird things happen. Right. Well, she jumps out of her window. And he jumps on her and they start to wrestle around. And then her alarm goes off, and she says, I must be crazy after all, because she had a hold of him.
Yeah, she had a hold of him
when she woke up.
Yeah, she wakes up and he's not there.
And so she just thinks she's crazy now.
Yeah.
Because he's not there. But he is there.
Boom, jump scare.
Oh, yes, it did get me.
It still gets me. Yes. There's parts of this movie that still get me, especially that part in the very that we talked about earlier, how he jumps through the mirror.
Yeah.
Where she's just sitting there staring at the mirror saying, it's only a dream, it's only a dream. And then he, boo!
Yeah.
There's some good stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's very, I don't know how to explain
the pacing's really well.
Yes. It's very well put together.
Yeah.
So he jumps up. She hits him in the head with a coffee pot. How dare you do that to the precious coffee pot? No, I'm just kidding. So she runs out and locks him in her room. So she's yelling at the cops, and the cops are telling her everything is under control. And she's like, get my dad, you asshole. And she finally breaks the window trying to get out. Freddy Krueger's upstairs, and he finally gets the door open and gets hit with the sledgehammer. And then he what?
I'm sorry. I think this is the only movie where they have like booby traps to get Freddy, but just seeing Freddy get tripped up by a bunch of booby traps is pretty fun.
It was
I don't know
pretty
why.
funny.
It's like, oh, fuck. This
Yes.
day is not looking good for Fred Krueger, I'll tell you that.
Oh my god.
Ever had just one of those Mondays?
Oh my. Who was it that falls down the stairs? Does Nancy fall down the stairs or Freddy?
I think Freddy does. I can't remember.
Because I
Did they
put
both?
falls down the stairs. I don't.
Your notes are so incomplete this time.
I'm so sorry. I was engrossed in this movie, okay? So he chases her and trips over another booby trap, which makes the light burst.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that's a booby trap. Is it just supposed to scare him?
It's supposed to blind you.
Oh, okay.
Kinda, and the glass is kind of like shrapnel.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's
I
in
was
a
just
bunch
like,
of movies
what?
where they put the gunpowder or the black powder inside of a light bulb, where they like drill a hole in it.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you turn it on, it lights that gunpowder and stuff. They do that in a ton of movies.
And she got hers from the TNT. Like a stick of dynamite. That's what it looked like.
Did she?
That's what it looked like
I'll
when
have to
she's
go back
putting
and
them
watch.
together.
Why did she just throw some dynamite at him?
I don't know.
Like, here, Freddy. Hand him
Take
the
this.
fucking dynamite.
I don't know. That's what it looked like she was pouring
Oh.
in the thing. Anyway,
I'll have to watch that again.
she breaks another window and she's screaming for help. So nobody's come to help her yet. So she runs down to the basement. She's trying to get away from Freddy.
Mhm.
And she gets down there and she sees a gas can. And she pours the gas on him and sets him on fire.
Boom.
Because, he died that way once. Why can't he die like that now, right?
Yeah.
And he runs after her as he's engulfed in flames. Tell me how they did this. They just had like a fire suit guy?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Never mind. It wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, every time you see a scene like this, it's usually a guy in a fire suit. They don't do that much anymore now that I think about it.
No.
Now it's all CGI fire.
So he runs after her. He's on fire. And she locks the door of the basement. So he's kind of stuck down there. And he falls down the stairs because she shut the door in his face. I don't know, because he's on fire. I don't know.
Something.
And she's yelling for her dad. And finally her dad's like, oh, shit. And her dad comes running from across the street. I don't know if we said this in the beginning, but Glenn lives across the street.
Oh,
from
yeah,
Nancy.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. She's looking across
Right.
the street.
So her dad comes to the house, and the house is filling with smoke. And he finally gets inside, and you see these fire footsteps leading upstairs to, they follow them to the mom's room. And Freddy's on top of Nancy's mom, attacking her. Mm-hmm. And her dad grabs a blanket and throws it over them to put out the fire. And her mom is dead. I didn't understand this. Like, okay, I understand, like, Freddy disappearing or whatever. But she just sinks into the bed. And she doesn't look like somebody that's been burned because her nightgown doesn't look burned. Just her body looks burned.
I don't know.
Is this fever dream shit?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's kind of strange to me. So she sinks into the bed, and then the bed is like normal again. And there's nothing there. And Nancy looks at her dad and says, do you believe me now? And he hugs her. She says she's going to be okay. And she sends her dad downstairs because she knows something else is going to happen. And the bed starts to move, and Freddy Krueger comes out of it.
Which is cool as shit.
Oh, yeah. Scary.
Yeah,
Very
that
scary,
visual is
though.
awesome.
I didn't expect it. she sent her dad downstairs, and I didn't expect anything else to happen.
Yeah.
And then he jumped out. I was like,
rises
holy fuck.
up out of the bed and shit and rips through the sheets.
Oh, yeah. Nancy says, I know you too well now. She says, it's too late. I know the secret. And then she says, it's just a dream. And she says, I want my mother and friends back. I take back all the energy I gave you. You are nothing. You are shit. And I really liked this. I take back all the energy I gave you. Oh, I love that.
I know, it's pretty good.
And so she turns her back on him. And he disappears. She opens the door. And when she does open the door, she's then outside in the sun. And she even makes a comment about, it's so bright, or something like that. And her mom's there. And her mom's like, I'm going to stop drinking. What? She just randomly volunteers that information. Is she drunk when she says this?
I'm going to stop drinking now. You can't tell me what to do.
And she's like, I just don't feel like it anymore. Oh, okay. And she asks Nancy if she kept her awake. And she said, no, I slept heavy. And she runs down the way and she gets in the car with Glenn and Tina and Rod. So everybody's alive. And when she gets in the car, the top starts to go up because it's convertible. And as the top goes up, you see that it's green and red striped. And the windows start to roll up. And Glenn's like, I'm not doing this. And so Nancy starts to freak out. And she's like banging on the window, trying to get her mom's attention.
Yeah.
And she's like, we can't get out. And these kids in the yard are jumping rope, these little girls again, and they're singing, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. And then your favorite part. I think you should tell this.
Oh, where her mom's dummy gets ripped through the window. Oh, it's amazing.
Explain what you mean by that.
It is a full-on mannequin getting ripped through this window by Freddy Krueger. Oh.
Yeah, because she's just standing there, and then all of a sudden this arm comes popping out and pulls her through, and you could totally
tiny little window.
You could totally tell it's a doll.
Oh yeah, it's great though. It's a great ending. This original ending was supposed to have Nancy defeat Krueger and then say goodbye to her mom, and they drive to school. That was how the movie was supposed to end. But Robert Shea, being the businessman as he was, and this is probably genius on his part. No offense to Wes Craven, but he wanted a twist ending that would leave it open for sequels. And he suggested, fooling the audience and that Krueger has been defeated only to reveal the final scene as a nightmare. There was like a few versions of the ending, and this is the one Wes Craven and Robert Shea compromised on. Which, like I said, it's probably a genius move on Robert Shea's part, even though I don't know. I've had arguments where people say, well, they should have just ended it, and that should have been the last Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just the first one. It's like, oh yeah, that would have been pretty cool, I guess, but think about how much money this franchise made for Robert Shea and New Line.
I don't know why there wouldn't at least be a sequel. Right? I mean, I know there is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And they went on to make like 6 sequels to this.
Holy shit.
So yeah, that's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And Freddy Krueger is credited as Fred Krueger.
Fred Krueger.
So, I mean, nightmares are scary on their own. And the fact that you could actually die in one boosts the horror up an extra level.
Yes, it does.
What makes Freddy so scary is the fact that you cannot run from him. With Jason, Michael Myers, and either Leatherface, you could possibly hitch a ride and get the fuck away from there. I mean, there's a possibility of escaping them. But, I mean, Michael Myers can drive, so, he'll find you eventually. But anyway, but Freddy attacks in our most vulnerable state. You have to sleep. You can force yourself to stay awake for a time, but in the end, your body is going to make you sleep.
Oh, yeah.
So you have only two choices. You can either die or find a way to stop the dream demon like we saw Nancy do.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah, there's no running. You don't have time to think about it. And like I said, luckily for Nancy, she found a way to take Freddy's power and turn him into nothing. And that ending's almost an allegory for not giving power to our inner demons and fears. Like I think I've said it a couple times. But the tacked on twist ending kind of negates that, but it's there. I enjoy it. A Nightmare on Elm Street would have been fine as a one-off horror movie. But like I said, it spawned 6 sequels, a television series.
Holy shit.
An album where Freddy sings cover songs of songs like Midnight Hour. Yes. Imagine the voice I was doing singing in the Midnight Hour.
Is this something I can listen to?
Yes, I'll find it for you.
Hell yeah.
We'll work till the midnight hour. Yeah, I'm not even fucking kidding. It's like 12 songs.
Oh my god.
Freddy Krueger's a fucking household name now and a horror icon. With a franchise that, whether you like it or not, it's loved by tons of people. Everybody recognizes the sweater.
Yes.
And, like I said earlier at the top of the show, Wes Craven was reluctant and stuff to be known as the guy who invented Freddy Krueger and Last House on the Left and stuff like that. But that's look at what he gave us.
Right.
So, did you like this one?
Okay, I have to tell you something.
What's up?
And this is very innocent of me.
Uh-oh.
Because I have not seen a million horror movies, okay?
Right.
But I would have to say, this is my favorite slasher.
Really?
Because when I'm looking for in a slasher, I'm looking to get scared. I'm looking to not get away. Because, in your classic, slasher movies, you're running, they're going to catch you.
Right.
It doesn't matter how fast you're running, they're going to catch you. And all they're doing is walking. This is ultimately so scary to me because a lot of things I do in my life, if I'm scared, I'll sleep. If I am sick, I'll sleep. If I'm anxious, I'll sleep. I know that sounds weird, but that's my way of escaping from the bad in my life is going to sleep. And that might be depression. I don't know. But that's how I hide from my issues. And then if I went to sleep and that was my issue, oh my God. This is like an ultimate nightmare for me.
Right, because, I could see why this is your favorite. Because, yeah, it's not deep. There are some themes there, but they're not so deep that you have to, write books about this. This has been a beefy episode just because we had so much to talk about. And that's only because A Nightmare on Elm Street's so unique. Like I said, it's so unique. Just the one twist they threw on it was he gets you in your dreams.
Oh, and that freaks me out so bad.
So, I'm glad you enjoyed this one. This is actually one of my favorite slasher movies too, so don't feel bad. But, so that's A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Directed by Wes Craven, starring Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. I can't wait for you to see the sequels. I think you'll love them even more because Freddy becomes more hilarious as the time goes by. In the end, it's all about Freddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all about Freddy at the end. But, so yeah, that's that. And next week, we're taking a trip to Haddonfield with Halloween. That's right, John Carpenter's amazing slasher that pretty much revolutionized slasher movies. Black Christmas may have started it, but damn, Halloween sure brought it to a whole new level. So until next time, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another great episode. Be sure to drop us a line on social media at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and pretty much everywhere we're found now. You can find us on YouTube, and to support the show, be sure to drop a review wherever you listen to fine podcasts. And if you would, share us on all your social media platforms. Get the word out. Anyway, I'm Lee Evans saying can't wait to see you here next week.